Hello everyone, my name is Valeria Delgado, and today I'm going to be talking about Frida Kahlo, more specifically her painting, The Two Fridas, which is the one on the left right here. So, a little bit of backstory. Frida Kahlo is a German-Mexican artist who was born in Coyoacan, Mexico. She is now seen as a feminist icon because she was rebellious, both in the way of how she lived her life and also her paintings. She also broke gender boundaries in the 1920s, in a time where that was seen as a ridiculous act. Obviously, she dressed in suits, like man suits, and everyone raised an eyebrow at that. She was openly bisexual in a time where that was not acceptable by most of society, and she was just very unapologetic in the way she lived her life. She also lived a painful life because she had to live with polio since she was a child because she was in a bus accident in her youth. This gives way to her paintings reflecting her pain and how she lived her day-to-day life with all the hardships. And here there's a picture of her in bed painting. And this was after many of her health issues, because not only did she have polio, she also had a lot of miscarriages, and she was never able to bear children. So, picture number 1 here is a picture that says Frida y Diego vivieron en esta casa, which translates to Frida and Diego lived in this house from 1929 to 1954. And I've actually been here before. I should have included pictures in this presentation, but that house is pretty much, her house is a museum, and you just walk through it and you can see different types of paintings, and you can see how her studio was set up and things like that. In the bottom picture here, this is Frida, and here is a suit that I was talking about. This is an example of how she broke gender norms. Obviously, she's pictured next to the rest of her family, which are mainly women, and here she is dressed in a suit, looking very masculine, kind of dipping into gender fluidity in the 1920s or 30s, which is very ahead of her time. And here, there's a picture of her with one of her lovers, Chavela Vargas, which is a Mexican singer, and they too were openly bisexual and sexually open to many relationships. And this just shows how carefree Frida was in both her gender fluidity and her sexuality. Here's a picture that we're going to be talking about, Las dos Fridas, or in English, The Two Fridas. So here we have Frida in a more European clothing, and here we have Frida in a more Mexican traditional clothing, and we'll go into why the two Fridas are different, and we'll talk about the heart and all of the imagery in here. So, analyzing this feminist painting. This piece was done not long after Diego and Frida broke up, after the divorce, I think. And it shows the two Fridas. The one that Diego accepted more, the more Mexican one, because Diego was a Mexican muralist, and he enjoyed more seeing Frida in a more Mexican light and more traditional Mexican culture, indulging in that culture. And the one on the right is more European, since she was German. She does have European blood in her, and she here has more Victorian era European clothing, although it does have some Mexican aspects to it, like the flowers down here. So, important details to note. The heart, I'm sorry for the background, I'm in Mexico right now, and there's a lot of background noise in here. The hearts on each Frida and the differences, the veins connecting them both. So here you can see on the Mexican side, her heart is full, which represents how happy she was when Diego accepted her as this Mexican figure. And the one on the left is more empty, more broken. And there's also a difference in the clothing of the Fridas. As I said, this is a more Mexican Frida, more traditional, The hair is even a little different. This one's actually a little pale, a little more tan, and this one's a little more pale. The dressing is different. And what I like about this, what makes this into a more feminist painting, is the fact that the European Frida holds scissors that cut off like the veins. So if you can see, there's like the hearts connecting it, and there's a lot of vein imagery here. And then the Frida on the left, the hand cuts off the veins, which in my opinion means cutting off the feelings, or like kind of numbing the pain of leaving Diego. So this is more like letting go of how a man makes you feel. However, on the Frida in blue holds an amulet, and if I can get closer. This is a picture of Diego. It's like a little amulet and has a little painting of Diego in it. So the question is, how is this a feminist piece? So the painting seems like it depends on how a man makes us feel, with the two Fridas being representative of how Diego perceived Frida. It gives the impression that women choose their lifestyle to please and satisfy men, in this case, Frida living up to the expectation that Diego wanted her to be. However, I interpret the needle that Frida on the right holds, not the needle, the scissors that this Frida holds, as cutting off the emotions and the connection that she had with Diego. And overall, I think that this painting shows Frida and other women. I think it teaches women that we have the ability to cut off ourselves from the person that men wants us to be. I think it shows the process of women taking back their identity and finding themselves. And then here, Frida Kahlo is pictured next to her painting. And as you can see, she is super talented. You can see how her facial features very clearly match the ones on the painting. She's super talented. So yes, I think to finish this off, the overall meaning of this painting is the process of Frida cutting herself off from the image that Diego wanted her to be, and her finally returning to herself, to the version that she wants to be and live for herself only. Thank you so much for listening, and I am so excited to see the rest of you guys' presentation.